Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. So today, we're going to be doing probably the most ultimate list on my channel. Well, it's the top 5 list, but it's still going to be the ultimate list on my channel. And this list will be my top 5 favorite movies of all time. From number 1, well I'm actually doing from number 5 to number 1, so yeah. And it's a kind of a hard list, but then also an easy list because I don't want to, because like I'm gonna do some honorable mentions before we start the top 5, but like I was thinking about it and like, is my top 5 really my favorite movies? And I didn't want to miss anything, and so I think I have all my opinions are right in order. So real quick before we start, these are just my opinions. They don't have to be yours. Let's just keep it respectful. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. And before we get into the top 5, of course, I'm going to do honorable mentions. And the first honorable mention I have is The Green Mile. I think The Green Mile is probably one of my favorite Tom Hanks movies. Like, I watched it like back in November of 2018. And I came home from school one day and my sister was watching on Netflix because it was on Netflix at the time. Don't try to check to see it's on Netflix because it's not anymore. It used to be on Hulu, but I don't know where it goes now. Anyways, so it was on Netflix. She was watching it, and when she continued playing it, I was sort of interested into it, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then I just sat there and just started watching it, and I started to watch the whole way through, and I was just blown away by it, and granted, I'm not sure it's my favorite Tom Hanks movie, because that's a difficult placement because I love Tom Hanks movies. He stars in some of the best films. But yeah, The Green Mile is an amazing movie and probably one of the best films in 1999 and one of the best films of that year. And then the next honorable mention I have, I'm only having 2 honorable mentions by the way. The next honorable mention I have is Sam Raimi's original film, Spider-Man. Well, I don't know if it's his first film, but it's one of his films that he did it originally. And I personally love Spider-Man that he directed. First off, like from the beginning from the very first scene where Peter gets bitten by the spider to he creates his own spider suit and he's fighting bad guys. This movie is a literal comic book coming to life, and I love that. And that's why this film is on the honorable mention list. Now, of the Spider-Man trilogy, I would say Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man movie of the trilogy. But I love this movie but Spider-Man 2 I wouldn't consider one of my favorite movies of all time. But for me, Spider-Man was one of those movies that has the nostalgia. So even though I love Spider-Man 2 more than the original Spider-Man, I have to put it on Spider-Man because Spider-Man, I have a lot more stuff with it. It's weird, I know, that I technically should put the film that's better on the list like this, but it doesn't matter. So, that's there. But now let's get into the top 5. At number 5 is going to be SpiderMan Into the SpiderVerse. Now, when they put out trailers for this movie, I was like, this looks pretty good, but I wasn't really going to plan to see it in theaters, and that's because it came out when I was slowly becoming a movie fan. And so I went to go see it. So like it came out during like Christmas time. Like I was not planning on seeing it. It looked, since comic book movies, they tend to, when they take things from the comic books, they technically make it work. And technically for me that was kind of boring when I was my age. I think I was like 11 or something when the movie came out. And so when I was in my winter break and I went to go see it, and it was an amazing movie. Like first off I want to say is that the animation is absolutely stunning. Like not just stunning, fantastic. Like there are I love when you have Miles's thoughts, when you have the character's thoughts like on the screen, and you have like the bubbles of the words look like comic book words. like it looks so comic booky, and like especially like the explosions, like the fire looks like out of a comic book, and it's just so violent. It's just so vibrant and colorful. I love it. Likewise, I love the characters to this movie. Miles Morales. When I first saw this movie, I was like, he's my favorite He's my favorite Spider-Man. No one can say otherwise because he is the best. Well, obviously, I love Tobey Maguire still because he's my favorite Spider-Man because he has the classic stuff and he's the best at being the hero everybody wants him to be. But, and likewise, as we got introduced, this was like one of the first movies we actually got introduced to with the Marvel movies that introduced us to the multiverse. And a lot of people probably wouldn't know that, but these spider people, they came from another universe if people watched it. I would actually say people actually like Peter B. Parker. I love him too because he actually has a pretty good story. And I love all the new spider people. I know I've said that again many times, but the spider people is a cool thing. Except I wish we could have gotten all of them. Hopefully in Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse 2, we actually get all of them since we have Spider-Man 2099 coming into the mix, which I think he'll be in the second one. Which, fingers crossed. And likewise, our villain Kingpin, I'm not the fan of his look, but he has a great backstory and he has a great thing with him in the movie. And likewise, a lot of people say that this movie, one of the bad things about the past Spider-Man films is that they put too many characters in, and that's basically one of the things that made the past Spider-Man films bad is that they put in too many characters. Like Spider-Man 3, they included Venom and Sandman. And then The Amazing Spider-Man 2 included Rhino, Harry Osborn's Green Goblin, and then Electro. This film, it had a lot of characters, but it handled it very well. Likewise, now I will say this, there is a couple of problems here and there. Likewise, Kingpin's look, I don't think he looks great compared to the other characters. And also, I don't like Penny Parker because she's just too anime-ish. Well, actually, it's not just her. I feel like Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Man, they're just a little bit not for my taste. I would say Spider-Man Noir is probably the best of those last three characters, but those three characters I don't really connect with as much as Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, or Peter B. Parker. So that's my thoughts on Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse. I'm sorry I've been going on for this for a long time, but now let's get into number 4. And number 4 is Finding Nemo. So this was one of the Pixar films I actually grew up watching as a kid. I absolutely love it. It, much like Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse, the animation is absolutely gorgeous. I love the way Pixar put together the animation of water to the screen. And this movie is just amazing. Plus the music is amazing. And just like the characters. The characters are just amazing. And it's like you can connect. You can kind of, like you can see the emotions with Marlin. And how he's trying to find his son. And it's really emotional and impactful. For me, this is one of those animated movies where I felt like it did a lot of stuff and it worked. Which, technically, you don't really think about that in with other animated movies. But likewise, this movie is just quotable. It has amazing characters, whether you're talking about Crush or even Dory. I thought Dory was one of the best characters of the movie because she's so funny, especially how she was played by Ellen DeGeneres, and I especially liked how she led Finding Dory in her movie. Probably not the biggest I like it more than most people, but anyways, the movie Finding Nemo is amazing. I definitely recommend it, and this is the only Pixar movie on my list. So when I do my Pixar tier list on Saturday, you might wanna watch this video before you go see that tier list, cause you probably can guess what my favorite Pixar movie is. Number 3 is gonna be The Lion King. Much like Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse and Finding Nemo, this one just does everything I love about animation and stuff. First off, I will say the animation is beautiful. All these films that I have in my top 5 of animation, they're all beautiful. Likewise, I love the characters in this movie. Amazing soundtrack, amazing music by Hans Zimmer, and it's kind of weird because Hans Zimmer actually did the music for Man of Steel. He did the music for the Batman Begins films, for the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and he did the music for the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, which was mind-blowing. Sorry, that's just a little thought I wanted to get out because I've been in a Kung Fu Panda mood lately, and I was blown away of how good the music was in those films. But I've seen the films many times before that, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, The Lion King, it has a lot of stuff. First off, I love the animation, love the characters. I love the character of Simba. Granted, I feel like he's a little bit more energetic than how he was when he's an adult. Because when he's an adult, he's not really likable anymore. Now, he kind of has a much bigger arc when he's an adult, but when he's a kid, he's kind of more likable and more cute. But, yeah. And also, I like the way they cast it, of how they did the cast. Like, they casted Jeremy Irons, James Earl Jones, Matthew Broderick as adult Simba, Ernie Sabella as Pumbaa, Nathan Lane, like, this cast is amazing. Likewise, one of the things that makes it one of my favorite. Now, I will say this. I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. Like I said with my Finding Nemo review, with my Finding Nemo thing. Starting next year, like in June of 2021, I'll be doing a Disney animated series where I review all the Disney animated movies that I've not seen. Like the Pixar and the Disney remake series. You might want, when I do my Disney remake series for Encanto, you might want to go see this video again because you might probably can. This is the only Disney animated film that's going to be on my list because, yeah, that is it. So The Lion King is a fantastic film, but one more thing before we get in my top 2 is that one of the things I loved about this movie was when we get the Ghost of Mufasa. That was what really put this film in the top 5 for me. Not just in the top 5, the top 3. Because stuff like that interests me. Like, it makes me have, like, these deep thoughts inside me. Like, and the same thing with Coco. When you have, like, the skeletons and they're discussing the history when they were alive. Like, I don't know. I love Lion King. I love Coco. I don't know why I'm talking about Coco. This is not in the list. But Lion King is an amazing movie. Number 2 is Avengers Endgame. This is probably the biggest film on the list right now. And the main reason for that is because they managed to bring this story to after the events of Avengers Infinity War. They managed to bring this story, to bring these characters together to save the universe, and it was absolutely enjoyable. First off, the character arcs of all the characters that have died off in the past films, in the past movie, I really like the way their characters go, especially with Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, and I loved how they teamed up in this movie, and they do with their differences here and there. A lot of great stuff with that. Also, we get a lot of funny moments in this movie, especially with the 2012 sequence with Iron Man and Ant-Man talking about Captain America's ass and talking about how that's America's ass. Funny little sequence. And then one of the big things about this movie is that this movie has the best final battle of all of the MCU films, where you have where it begins with Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America just going against Thanos, and then you have amazing moments with Captain America wielding up Thor's hammer, and of course Thanos beats him because he's Thanos and no one can beat him. And then and then Captain America, you think Captain America's gonna get beaten, but no, he's going for, but no, he's not, he could do this all day, and he's going to do this, he's gonna duke out with Thanos and his army one last time, but then you just hear on your left, and then Black Panther, Okoye, and Shuri walk out, and then you have Falcon and all the other portals, Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, all of the Masters of the Mystic Arts, all of the characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe coming out for this big epic finale. And this is a movie that is, a lot of people say this is a lot like the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. I've heard, I can kind of see it. I've never seen Lord of the Rings, none of the films, or even read the books. But for what I've heard that what's in the movie, I kind of can see that. Reason why it's not on my number 1 spot is that I wasn't the biggest fan of what they did with Thor and Hulk, because when they made Thor fat, it kind of makes it, sure, I liked how he was depressed. It does a great arc for him, but it just doesn't work well. And when they did Hulk, they just made him more of the science man than just the smash guy. I don't like that. Also, I feel like this movie was just made for just fan service and actual like as an actual great movie. But I put this in the movie because of the fan service, because the fan service absolutely works in this movie. So that's my number 2 spot. But coming in first place, my favorite movie of all time is Avengers Infinity War. This is the culmination of almost everything in the MCU, and it was an absolute blast. You have all the characters. You have all the characters from the Avengers to Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. All of the characters you know and love from the MCU except Hawkeye and Ant-Man and the Wasp. They weren't there because they were on house arrest. But you have all the characters and introducing the villain of Thanos into the mix, as well as the Black Order. I thought they were actually great villains of the MCU, and just to let you know, they probably will be coming back when if I ever become an MCU director. Just want to let you know. But like the action is so big of all the MCU films I've seen, and it has the biggest stakes of all of the MCU movies, because Thanos is there, he could kill anybody. He was about to kill Iron Man. And then, of course, much like Endgame, it has one of the best fan service moments of all time, where you have the Battle of Wakanda, and you have Thor, where you think all hope is lost, where Black Panther is getting troubled by Outriders, and Captain America and Hulk and all the other characters, and then you have this bolt of Asgardian light shooting down, and then you see Stormbreaker go first, and then come back in the hand of Thor, and then you see him with Rocket and Groot, with Teenage Groot, and then you just have this in your mind. If you were in the theater that opening weekend, you probably were like, yeah! Let's go! We're gonna do this! We're gonna beat Thanos and his army! Yeah! And that's not the only moment that we cheered. You have like the scene where Spider-Man gets his Iron Spider suit, or when Iron Man gets his own suit, when he gets his own nanotech suit. There's a lot of amazing moments other than just that one moment. And granted, I feel like Infinity War does a little bit more of that than in Endgame, because in Endgame you had the Captain America wielding moment and then the portal sequence. And I don't really think that's enough like fan service moments for Infinity War, because it had a lot of them. So Avengers Infinity War has always been my favorite film of all time, and that's why it is my number 1 favorite movie of all time, and that's why it comes in at number 1. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram name is Marvel6, and my TikTok name is Marvel1Fan. I will be posting another video in a couple of minutes. And I should probably rest my arms for a minute because my arms are hurting right now. So I'll see you guys in a little bit.